Welcome to the Open House Podcast, where women talk real estate. I'm Steph Douglas.
And I'm Kristina Moderis.
Please excuse my sick voice.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
So much better. It was a whole week of sickness, which is usually like 3 days and maybe like a day on either side feeling yucky, but COVID is a different creature.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, Steph had COVID and like weirdly no one else got it. Oh, bless
Sorry.
you.
I muted myself one time. Yeah, no one, weird. I mean, I was in the office the day that I was feeling like a little bit tired and a little run down. That was my pit in my Peach and Pit. It was every Tuesday we meet, and my pit was like, I'm just like not feeling that great. And then it turned out it was COVID, and I was in that tiny room with everyone. Not a single person got it.
Yeah. I don't understand how it works, but you know.
Yeah. And then I came home, and me and Alan, luckily, like when we're sick, he sleeps in his office, and that is great. So we weren't like sleeping in the same bed, but he never got it either, living with him.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad you're feeling way better.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I feel okay. Yesterday, I feel like this week I've just been like low energy a little bit. I guess we'll talk about a little bit. I feel like it has a little bit to do with like some family stuff, but but really I think I'm just tired.
It's we're in a tired world.
Yeah.
This is an exciting topic. An exciting risky topic, but no, I'm excited to get into it. But first, should we talk about The Office?
Yes. Well, let's talk about our experience with this, because so right now we office out of a house, essentially. This house that me, Steph, and are tiny owners in.
Yeah.
Are like part owners in, and then our team owns it as well. So two members of our team own it. And then so 5 people own this property. Yeah.
We're 10% owners, and everyone has a different stake, ownership stake, which just goes to show you don't have to have equal ownership always.
Yes.
But it's a house. Mm-hmm. So like a residential house.
Right. And this was, and then there's like a tiny house in the back. So it's nice. It's been nice. But we outgrew the space. Like, we have events there. You've probably been, if you've, been to our Woman Investor Meetup or our Homeowner Meetup, that's where we've been hosting them. But we've outgrown the space. So Steph and I, we ventured into a new world of renting a commercial space. We've never done that before. Our former office was lovely. It was like on Oak Springs in Austin. We still own it. We renovated it. It was like such a quick and fun, kind of stressful experience, but I loved it. But then we outgrew that space, and then so we moved, and COVID happened. It was just so we've been like transitioning into different spaces. So this is the first time we will be actually looking in or like leasing a commercial space, and it hasn't been a great experience.
It's been really hard. And like, granted, we have pretty specific criteria, and we want something that like fits our vision and our mission. And that means it's like cute and we can make it into something that we want. But it's been like, don't y'all want tenants? Like, don't y'all want our money? We're just trying to give you our money. And that's how it feels. Like, it's constantly just like, wait, why don't you want us in there?
Yeah. It almost feels like we've walked into their house and demanded, or like their commercial space and demanded that they get, like, they rent to us. But that's how it's been feeling throughout this whole search. Like, we finally found a space that we're really excited about. And we are actually hiring a designer who we already like signed a contract with for this lease. I'm really excited about it. Like this, when we announce who we're working with, you guys are going to be really excited too. She's amazing. But this, like, we're still kind of going back and forth with this lease because they told us, they were like, okay, we're in agreement. And then our our poor commercial agent. We hired a commercial agent because we were like, we don't know commercial. And she sent over our lease, and I think it's like she's dealing with a realtor, a commercial realtor who this might be their first deal, or like
something.
I don't
like
or something.
How is it? There was another one we were interested to that was the same deal. She was like, yeah, this is our first time. I was like, what? Y'all just stay in residential.
I almost forgot about that other like property. So there was another property that we were interested in, and that fell through because we found this other space we liked better, and then they were so slow to like get back to us. So slow.
Like I just talked to Caitlin on the phone, and first of all, she was like, I'm really earning my commission with this. And I was like, you are. That's really hard. But she also said that the other place that we were interested in reached back out finally, like this week, was like, hey, we finally got a hold of whatever. I was like, that was like
a month
2
later?
months ago. Yeah.
2 months? Like it's been a long time.
It's been a while. So it's been tough. And it's been a lot of like, okay, they said yes, yay. And then they come back and they say, actually, I don't know about how the real estate market's going to go, like whatever. And we're like, what? You said yes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, fine. Here's the lease. We signed it. We were like, yay. And then they came back and said like, oh, but it's actually going to be $400 a month more.
Yeah, you guys have to pay taxes now. We were like, but that wasn't in the original agreement. Like I just want to be like, can we all just sit in a room? Like, who is the it feels like we're playing telephone. I'm like, who is the person who's like not communicating this? Because like it's very frustrating.
And like when you're going to rent a space, you submit an application, they approve it, then you both sign the lease. So it's just taken a long time. But I did like Tuesday we had our meeting, and that was a point where I was like, we are like past the finish line, which that's naive of me because until everybody signed, it's never passed. But I was so excited. I cried in our meeting.
I know.
Slightly. I was like, it's going to be so great, but we just have to like get it through.
I know. I know. I almost feel like, of course, we always are risky. We're a little risk takers. So like, of course, we've already signed this contract with this designer, and they're like, we sent them the measurements of the space, and we don't have a signed lease yet. Like, but like, they told us yes. And like, we should know that I know. We need it. We need that in writing before. Verbal is not.
We're optimists, but I have faith or confidence that we're gonna get it there. It's just a matter of time.
I think that there's something they're not telling us that they're trying to figure out on their end, and so they're trying to. It feels like they're delaying for some reason. Yeah, it's
a weird thing. So
it seems unprofessional. Honestly, it just is like I feel like we've gotten our shit together. In these past, how long have we owned our company now? Like,
only 4 years. 4 years, I guess
it'll be 4 years in June.
Yeah.
Oh my God, soon. Yeah. So we are I feel like we're so professional now. Like we try to be. If we're not, you please message us. We love feedback.
Yes. Please.
But we're always trying to improve how we communicate with companies, how we communicate with clients. We're always trying to improve. And so it's always like a shock when we deal with someone who's like so unprofessional. Yes,
absolutely. So stay tuned. We will update everybody as it progresses, and hopefully we'll have very good news next week.
Yeah. Yes.
What about your Airbnb situation?
Oh, yes. Yes. So, also, okay. So the house that I used to live in, I bought it with my sister. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. Lived in it for like 5 years. Then I just last August now bought this house that I'm in now. So we had been Airbnb-ing it. I wanted to just Airbnb it for 1 year because I figured that I would be making more money. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get a little cushion in my bank account, and then I'll long-term rent it. And I don't know if it's the market or the management or the house or what, but it's just been a disaster because it's not it's not covering my mortgage. So I've had to put in additional money in there, and it's been bad. So there was a last straw where someone broke into the house last week, And I was like, okay, that's it. This is what I needed to like make a move, because I just been like avoiding the situation. So I literally was like, okay, I'm renting it. And then our friend Matt was like, oh, actually, I know someone who's interested. So people we know are interested in renting it. So I'm just sent them a lease. So hopefully that works. So that was like really
Yay.
quick.
So quick, so nice, because long term is just so hands off for the most part. Like when something comes up, it is annoying, but that's so rare.
And I know he's very handy. Like, so it's our friend. It's a couple, a lady and a guy, and he kind of has odd jobs here and there, and also does a lot of handyman work. So he is handy. So if something happens, we know we probably could just hire him to do it.
Oh, that's so nice. Knock it off the rent. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. I think also we just have to make sure, like, we're going to get into this with, working with family, working with friends, because essentially they are our friends. Like, so just making sure that I'm trying to like be very clear in the beginning and like set the standard of like what I'm expecting. And I want to make sure they know that as well. I think because she was like, oh, I just want to make sure like there'll be like a written agreement. I was like, oh yes, of course.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Clear is kind. And that's like, it saves so many relationships.
Yeah. So how's it going with your projects?
Oh my God. It's so good.
You have a couple going on right now.
I have a couple going on. We are transforming a shipping container into a house, which I've always wanted to do, because I love the idea. Like, there's so many shipping containers in the world already. So if you could just use that for like a shell and then build it out, it could be cheaper. It could be more sustainable. So in this property specifically, though, there was already a shipping container back there. And there was also a shed that wasn't being used. And so we basically moved them to be next to each other, and we're going to make it into like a little indoor outdoor living situation with like bedroom, bathroom in the shipping container, and then kitchen in the shed. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be really cute and a good place for like one person and their dog to live, or two.
Are you going to do long term?
We're going to do long term.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I think so. I saw your TikTok you made on that. So follow us on TikTok. Steph is posting updates there. And you said next step kitchen stuff, but how are you going to plumb it? Are you going is there plumbing already?
Yeah, so there was already supply back there, and there was already electrical back there. Like someone had already run it, which is great. And we actually bought this property from a friend, and I don't know if she did that or if it was already like that. I should ask her. But we just had to do the sewage, and so they did have to lift the storage container a little bit higher, because for sewage there has to be like a specific pitch so that the solids can move down the sewage pipe. And so we had to lift it higher so that the sewage pipe could be at that specific pitch. But yeah, we just tied it into the original house.
That's really lucky, because usually that can cost like what, $15,000
to do all of the
Yeah.
utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in some cases it's like not easy at all. Like, you have to trench for a really long time. And then like, if you're actually building a whole nother unit where you have like separate utilities, that's a whole nother thing where you have to go and like get city permitting and get them to come out and put in the water tap and stuff like that. So yes, we got very lucky that this was already done when we bought the place.
That's amazing. Well, I'm excited to see it.
I'm also closing on a fixer upper today. I'm going after the meeting. We have a meeting with our business coach, and then I'm going to go sign papers for the house on 11th Street.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting! Yes, we tried to take a tour of it the other day,
and it was locked. But
it was locked.
It's pretty rough. It needs everything, but we got it for a pretty good deal. It was actually someone bought it on auction, and then they're selling it to us. And that's like, wholesalers. We don't always love wholesalers. Like when me and Kristina when we started our careers, wholesalers were being like schmoozy with us and like trying to get us on their investor list and all of that. And we were like, ew, this feels really gross.
Yeah.
it's not always like they're getting a cut for like for a finder's fee. So,
Do you mind telling us how much you bought it for?
oh yeah. So I'll tell you all the numbers. So it's in 78702, which is a pretty like popular zip code in Austin. The purchase price is $425. It's 1,200 square feet, and it's like 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. The bedrooms count is loose because those houses are often like add on and then add on another place and then whatever. But $425, we're gonna put about $120,000 into it, and we're financing it with a hard money loan. So this is not our money. We are borrowing money at high interest, and then we're going to refinance out of it and then long term rent it.
Okay, so how long did they loan you the money for?
So
Is it
it's
infinite?
usually it's like a year loan, but like we definitely don't want to keep it for a year because that's so expensive. So we're like, okay, well, we have a year just in case, like if something, takes a really long time, but we're going to try to get it all done in like 3-ish months. So we have all of our contractors lined up. We have our quotes. We have our, materials we have a materials list. Like we have our what we think we're going to spend, all of that. And we're closing today. The demo happens tomorrow. So we're just like, let's go.
3 months. That's so quick to do that whole house.
We'll see. Just we'll see.
Good luck. I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
I hope that works out.
I know. But luckily, we found these people that came at a really good referral. They're not that cheap. They're like, they seem very responsive. They seem we've met them over there like 3 times.
The contractor,
and
okay.
they're like contracting everything. So in a lot of cases, we were like piecing contracting ourselves, and like one service provider, like the plumber, would be like, well, I can't do my thing until this other person does their thing, and that like delays things. And so if we can get one person in charge, like get your people through, and then let's go. We'll see. So
is this a new contractor you're working with?
Yes.
Oh,
which is always scary.
All the risks over here.
I know. But there's a woman that lived across the street from us or lives across the street from my mom. And she built 4 houses on her property. She like has 2 lots next to each other, and they did all of her construction.
Okay.
So we kind of have like good reference, and we know what their work looks like.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I guess, how long did it take us to do the retreat house? 4 months?
Too long. 6 months?
Six
Well,
months?
like I bet 4 months until everything was like in and done.
Yeah.
Like, but then the little things, how that always drags.
Right. And we used a new contractor that we had
Yes.
never used also. Well, that was during a busy time when contractors were like
Yes.
hard to lock in. So we took a risk, but that worked out too, and it was fine.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I'll keep everyone updated on that as well. It's been fun. I took a break. I mean, I haven't been doing projects like this for a while. So
yeah. I feel like I'm in a project break for sure.
I know.
But I need to. I spent all my money. Oh, actually, this is a good transition into like the reason you're able to do all these projects is through working with like a family business, right? Like
Yes.
this is, and it would be, so let's get into like what we're talking about and like the ups and downs of working with family. Both me and Steph have done that before. Maybe do you want to start off talking about like how you got into that with working? I know you started with working with your mom, right?
Yes. So my second house, I had just gone through a breakup. I had already rented my first house out. I was like, I don't want to go back to renting. I approached my mom and I was like, hey, Austin's growing. This was in 2016. So Austin had already been growing, obviously. But I was like, listen, I see this and I feel really confident in this. Like, do you want to partner on a house? And she and her partner were looking to get out of the Houston suburb they were living in after my sisters graduated high school. And I was like, you guys can move here once you are done in this place. And this can be ours. We can own it 50-50. And she was like, okay.
What was your mom doing before?
She was a teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I was also a teacher at the time. So we were both elementary school teachers. We both had our summers off, which is such a perk. And we didn't have very much money, but she had just gotten divorced a couple of years prior, and she like just was smart with her money. Like she's really good at saving, but
She
also
is very thrifty.
yeah,
For sure.
yes. So she had some money saved up. I had $0, literally $0, which is why I couldn't do this by myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I didn't ask her for money. I wasn't like, hey, will you give me money so I can buy another house? Because I rented my other one out. I was like, this could be a good opportunity for both of us. So we bought a house that needed work. We fixed it up ourselves. That was like a wild ride where we used YouTube University just to like, I mean, I can't, the stuff we did in that house, like that we've since gone and corrected a lot of the stuff that we did because it was so like shoddy, but we learned on it. It was like a project house to learn on. And she currently
lived there?
I lived there. I lived there
Yeah.
for 2 years.
So you lived through the shoddy work and you realize. So that's actually a great way to do it instead of like starting your first project and then like letting some poor tenant figure it out. Like
seriously. I honestly like. I think I'm gonna do. I have to talk about this more because I ran into a 22-year-old. I saw a 22-year-old at a party. I met a 22-year-old at a party
in the wild. I found a 22-year-old out in the wild,
and I was like a little drunk, and I was like, "Listen, you have to buy a house." It was the best thing I ever did for myself, and obviously, I was like, "I'm sorry, like you don't actually have to, but this is what." And like if everyone could do something like this, like buy a house, even if it's not a project or if there's like small projects, live there, rent out a room or two. Like I had in 2016 my whole entire mortgage covered by my roommate, by Airbnb. Like since then I haven't paid a mortgage ever.
And I will say, even beyond like the financial aspect, it really builds you as a person. Like I feel like there's two like pivotal moments for me in my early 20s. One of them was like doing this 30-day like hike across Spain. It's called the Camino. I did that at 22, and the next was like buying a house. Like buying a fixer upper house. Like it was it like changed me for the better. Like I really truly, you wouldn't know who I was from like 19 to 25. Like in 19 I was like this lost, like literally at my first job, someone was like, "You're like a little lost lamb," like, or like a lamb in they said I worked at Circuit of the Americas. They said you're a lamb in the lion's den, and I was like,
"Oh my,
yeah." But I was like so different, and then like it really was, yeah, getting into that first house, like it changed me.
Yes, absolutely, and I think, I mean, we do basically, I couldn't have done this without partnering. I mean, we talk about partnering all the time, and I have chosen to partner with family, and so have you, which is, yeah, pros and cons for sure. But that was my first like actual partnership. What was your first one?
With family, actually, I don't remember. Was it my first house? So I don't really consider this. I think this is a really unique way of going about real estate that I was in my very early stages. Actually, I don't know if I've talked about this that much. So I wanted to get my license. I moved to Austin and was like seeing all these houses. I just like for some reason knew, like I just saw all these houses on Cesar Chavez that were listed for like $200,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm living in a old dilapidated house renting with 5 people, and we are like having to Airbnb our back like room. We had a back living room because our utility bill is $500 a month, and all of us were making like less than $25K a year. So it was just like, I was like, this just feels hard and not right. And like, so I was just seeing the opportunity in Austin, and I was like feeling left behind. I was like, I just want to like, it would be cool to like own a house. And so I started researching. I got on, I think the thing is I couldn't find, there were no women doing this that I could find. So I like went on Bigger Pockets. I like found people who lived in Austin. I started meeting up with them. I found one girl who was my age. We started going to auctions because I was like, this could be, I don't know what this is. Let's just go. So like foreclosure auctions in Austin, and it was like so crazy. It was so stressful. I was like, oh, I don't know. And I started talking to my dad. We at the time we had like a really good relationship, and I just talked to him almost every other week, and he was like, oh, I have a really good friend who he's in Atlanta, and he's like, who he has been buying a lot of houses on auction, and he's been showing me how to do it. So I was like, oh. And so me and my dad together started like researching. We like broke up the roles. So like I would go on the website, on the auction website in Atlanta, and it's like we looked in I guess all over. And so we looked through this, and so we came up with we used the same strategy this guy was using, where I would put it all in a spreadsheet, all the houses that I thought would be good, and then I ranked them like A, B, C, and then I would send it to my dad, and my dad would go do a drive-by and like drive by the houses, and so we just did that. No, we didn't really have a plan to do anything with it, really. I had some money saved, not a lot, but I had some money. So we were like, anyway, so my dad went to an auction, and he was like, I think we should buy this house. And I was like, wait, what? And so he was like, so at an auction, you have to bring your money in a cashier's check. The exact amount that the house costs. So we were not 50-50 because I did not have $25,000 to my name at that moment, but we bought a house. We bought a $50,000 house.
How do you know how much the house is going to cost?
So you just bring a shit ton of cashier's checks. It's crazy. It's crazy. And who's really doing that are not like me and my dad. It's really like banks. So they, banks or like wholesalers. So honestly, I was like, this doesn't feel whatever. I was just like, sure, why not? My dad, like I trusted my dad. Like I trust my dad. And it's like nice to have your parents' support, I guess. Like I at that moment of my life, I was like 24. I still was like blindly like, this person knows way more than me, which he does, and he did at the time, and he does know more about certain things than me. So I was like, trusted him, and I to this day have never stepped foot in that house. I actually ended up, so my dad, it was a fixer-upper. My dad, the family that owned it, my dad is like very to a fault, which I think your mom might be like this too. Like she's so like they're just kind, and they want to like make sure, like the people that lived there. He was like, no, they wanted to stay in the house, and so they like he obviously let them stay in the house, and there was a lot of work that needed to be done, and there was a lot of issues because obviously they defaulted on their mortgage. So are they going to pay rent? Probably not. But my dad really worked with them. So like he really, really worked with them. He spent so much, and he's really willing to put in that time that I shouldn't buy those properties because I would not. If I did that in Austin, it would just stress me out. And like he was dealing with like, having to like go over there and like do labor with them on the house. He like really worked with them. Eventually I think after 2 years, the couple like got divorced. It was just like a whole issue. So, but I got out of that property. So I paid, I don't remember. We came up with a percentage after like 3 years or something, and I got off that property. So I do not fully own it I do not own it at all anymore, but, and he still does, and he
does. Oh, I didn't realize that.
It. Yeah.
Wow.
That's going to be his little nest egg. I'm sure it's worth like at least $250 now. So,
oh yeah. And you bought it for $50K.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I'm like, so I quickly realized I do not like that world. I do not like
the auction stuff.
I don't like it. I wouldn't be able to like, and he's gone on to buy another property, not on an auction, but like distressed, like I think maybe in that way, I don't know, like a townhouse where it's just a lot. So anyway, that was my first um first
Family partnership.
family partnership, and it went okay because me and my dad, like my dad did all the we didn't have to really work together that much.
Yeah.
I put in my cash and I was a silent partner. So
Yeah. That's great. I mean, would you partner with your dad again?
Well, a lot has changed since then,
Yeah.
you know. So, well, me and you partnered with my dad too. Remember?
Oh my God, you're right. Yes, on the commercial property.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
me and Steph, I don't even. So, this was like so. When was
2018,
this?
right? Late 2018, we closed. And
You were a teacher.
yeah,
I was a realtor. We both had decided that we wanted to buy this commercial property to join forces because we were working with first-time home buyers and educating them. Steph was a teacher, also doing like deals on the side.
Yeah.
And I think I convinced you, but also you had convinced yourself that you should just do this full time.
Yeah.
And the world lost another great teacher. But I mean,
the world needs to lose a lot more great teachers before so that they can pay them more. Because let's
Yeah.
go. Anyway,
I think it's happening a lot now. Hopefully something will
know.
change. But
I know.
anyway, yeah. So we were like, let's buy this property, and I think we took a lot of risks at that moment as well. Like all the cash I owned.
Oh,
Went
I
into
cashed
this.
out my teacher retirement fund. That's how I paid for that commercial property. Remember? And like, I think you fronted me because I was trying to get it out. It was like locked up somewhere. Not locked up somewhere, but it was like tied up, and I had to do all this paperwork and like go to the office a million times. And so, yeah, it was wild. It's like everything we had. I can't believe that. I'm just now remembering.
All of our money went into this. We were real risk takers, y'all. Anyway, so but we saw the vision. To me in that moment I was like, this is not a risk. Like this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like what do I have to lose? I can, I can get a job. I can figure it out. Like it's just me. I'm 27. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was 26. I don't know. I was just like, what?
I remember thinking when we were doing that, like the worst case scenario is I go back to doing what I was doing before.
Yeah.
I go back to teaching. I go back to having a job. Like literally that's the word. I mean, maybe I lose some money, but like, that's, you can recover from that. But yeah, so I agree. I don't think that we saw it as a risk. We saw it as like, how do we make this happen? Because this is such a good opportunity.
Such a good opportunity. It didn't exist. We were like, oh my God, we're going to have a community event center here. It made so much sense. We were like blinded by like, but it worked out for us. So
yes.
Why did we need my dad? I think he lent us $40K.
He lent us money for that. Yeah, he did.
He lent us.
And then we paid him back like pretty quickly.
And we wrote up an operating agreement or something.
Yeah.
We had a written agreement. And we had, I think after like, we paid him back really quickly, like very quickly. Cause we started making sales. We were doing a lot at that moment. We bought a commercial property. Then we renovated that building really quickly. Like 3 months. That was 3 months, I think.
Really quick. And that was like, a box that was like 400 square feet. But the whole property, like there were potholes or people getting stuck. There was graffiti everywhere.
There was a business
trash
plan
everywhere.
that we had to come up with. There was
oh my God.
We hired an employee all in this time. We hired an employee. We bought a commercial building. Then we renovated it. Then Eric also decided to put a tiny or a coffee trailer there. We were all like, and then we also were dealing with clients. I'm pretty sure that year I had a good amount of sales. Like
we did a lot of sales. We did a lot of business that year. And then that's when, because that was 2019. So 2018 we bought the property. 2019 we started our business. We did so much business. And then 2020 hit and we were like, we need to hire some agents. So we hired Jen and Sid, our first two agents, in like literally late February of 2020. And then 3 weeks later, the world shut down.
Yes. Okay. So going back, that's two ways that, like, okay, actually, I want to go back to your family business because this really, I want to show people. So when did you start with your mom? Like neither one of you had ever been, I mean, you owned a house, but you weren't like that into real estate. Your mom definitely wasn't. And now you guys are like, your mom lives, breathes, eats, real estate.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do too, but like, I feel like you brought her into this world.
Yeah, and if she heard that, she would hate it because she no. It's okay because I think a lot of people think that, and she definitely would not have done what she's doing with real estate had it not been for me being like, oh my God, like obsessed. But she, after her divorce, she got a house that was like fixer upper, and my stepdad, we bought fixer uppers. So she was like in like around the world, you know, like she did it herself. She bought a house where there was a bunch of like animal feces on the ground and it was really bad pain, and she fixed that one up. So she's like dabbled a little bit before now.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Okay.
definitely like I was like, you guys should move to Austin and you should, you know, do this with me. But so 2016, we bought that house. We finished it over the summer. I started renting it out. And then when my sisters graduated from high school, she moved here and we were like, this is cool. We could do this together. And my uncle, her little brother, who lives in San Diego, he was renting. It's so sweet. He and his family, he has 4 kids and a wife. They were renting an 800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, like really close to the beach. And he was like, I don't care. Like, this is where I want to live. Like, I want to be close to the beach. I want to be close to my family. It's so sweet.
This mentality of like location and like,
yes,
your quality of life values.
And he wasn't able to buy a house in San Diego because it's crazy. And he had a big family. And so he was like renting this, and he had such a good situation like for him. And he was like, I can't do anything here, but we could start buying houses in Austin and renovating them. And I was like, that would be kind of cool. Like, I'm a realtor. He was a lender. He's a mortgage lender. And my mom is just the scrappiest person in the world.
Yes.
And so we bought our first house in actually 2018. So me and my mom partnered in 2016. We bought a house in Round Rock in 2018.
Yes,
December.
I remember that house. You sold that, right? Or you still have
we have, yeah, that was the only property that we've sold. Actually, we sold 2 in San Antonio too. But Moose is very like what are
That's
the
your
numbers
uncle.
looking like? My uncle's name is Moose, yeah. And he is very like, we need to make sure the bookkeeping is right and make sure that we track all our spending. And my mom is very like loosey goosey with everything and just like, you know, we're scrappy. We're just going to get it done. And so we kind of made a really good team. And now my mom is a property manager. So we have an agent, property manager, and a lender. And we have 13 units with a goal of 20 units, all long-term rentals by the end of 2024. And then we'll stop and we'll have like our retirement funds.
You're going to stop.
We're going to stop after we get 20 units.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back also because when you were like, Mom, come to Austin. I mean, that actually, how many, I'm just going back to thinking like, I remember talking to my dad and saying the same thing, not move to Austin because I would kill him and he would kill me. But it was more like, Dad, like, let's buy property together. Like I think there's like all these, I want to like show, like your mom really trusts you and your mom like respects you, trusts you. Like and like also is a risk taker, but also like sees the value in like listening to you in that way, which I think is so powerful because look at what that did. Like just like a lot of people, you know how many people are like, oh, I actually invented that thing because I thought of it 3 years ago. And it's like, well, you didn't really do anything. A lot of people probably thought of like these, you know, things, but you have to act on it. So like I will say that after buying that house in Atlanta, you know, even before that, I was always telling my dad, like, look at this property. Let's look at this property. Because I didn't have the funds, but I had the time and I had the like energy. I feel like that could have, if, you know, I'm sure, who knows what would have happened, but what if my dad had listened to me?
Yeah.
You know, what could have happened?
Totally. I know. And I feel like if you pushed him hard enough, right? Or was he...
No, I don't think so. I think like at that moment he didn't, there was no reason for him to probably trust me in that way because I had gone from 0 to 100. I had gone from like not ever listening to him probably also
Yeah.
And not having any interest in real estate, he had kind of pushed me to buy property and like be kind of scrappy in certain ways. But like, yeah, I just don't think, yeah, he wasn't there. We weren't there. We weren't,
Yeah.
we weren't,
Yeah.
we definitely weren't there. And like, I think that's something that it's good to recognize when you're if like people listening, if you're thinking about working with family or not, like, I don't, it's really emotional, right? Like
Yes.
actually, it's interesting because I feel like you are really good at working with your family. Like I would say I've met like a lot of your family, and I wouldn't say like, if you guys are listening, like, oh, well, everyone here is just like really good at listening and like really, no, like I
No.
wouldn't, and like, I think your family, they're like obviously great qualities, and like this worked out because you guys all are listening to each
Yeah.
other in some way, but it's not like you guys are all this just like passive and like whatever. No, right? You have
No,
big
no.
personalities in your family.
That's a great point. It's like it didn't work out because we are all just super easy to work with. I think it worked out because we all see the vision, we have complementary skills, and we really work on like communication, and we work on work on meaning like if there's something wrong, we try to bring it up. Like we're all really trying to make this work because it's going to benefit us all in the end. And
Yeah.
like if there's not that buy-in, like this is going to be one of the biggest like wealth builders in my life. Like it's our
Oh,
business and then this. It's like these two things, these two like engines are what I'm resting on for like my retirement. And so are they. And they're older than me, obviously. And so they're like equally as invested. And we've kind of have a culture of like, we'll never let this interfere with our family ever, like our familial relationships, which it's easy to say. But yeah, I think that's definitely because we all are very aligned on vision.
Yeah. Okay. So you have the same vision. Would you say you guys have the same values?
No.
Interesting. Because we always stress that, right? We're always
we
like,
do.
yeah.
I think we have important values in common. We have like we are all very generous. I think generosity is like a really big one. Like if someone needed something, we would all jump to say like, yeah, like take money out of the account. Like that's happened before. Like someone's needed a loan from the account. We're like, oh, please, like take it. Or like if someone's like, I feel like I've been, working a lot more than other people. Then we're like, oh my God, like we need to, pay you for your time. Or we were just in the group chat the other day and my mom was like, I forgot to put on the cleans on there, but it's okay, whatever. And we were like, no, you need to be paid for this. Like this is really important for us so that we can like keep this relationship. And so I think, yeah, generosity, I think
Sounds like fairness. Like there's
yeah.
like an open communication about like it's not worth keeping $500. It's worth to pay out someone $500 if that's like going to cause like no arguments. And I feel
Yes.
that too. Like I'm very
yes.
much like, I mean, depending on how much money you have in your account,
Yeah.
right? But like it's if someone's feeling neglected or left out or not respected, like that's when issues can really come up.
Absolutely. And that, yeah. And trusting like implicitly that these people are level-headed and logical and reasonable. And like nobody has exhibited any behavior that causes me to think like they're just going to take all this money and run away, or like they're going to like not be fair if a situation arises, which you can't know about everyone, but like we know that about each other. Like I won't partner with certain people in my life, I know for a fact, because I don't feel that about them. You don't feel that way about everybody. So these are a lot of pros. Like I think my biggest pros are I wouldn't have been able to move at this speed or do any of this really without partnering with my family, honestly. And then like implicit trust, which not implicit, I guess, but trust. Like these people in my family, I trust so much. They have my best interest at heart. And not only that is that we share this vision, and that is really bonding. And I do think that I'm closer to my uncle than I would have been otherwise,
Oh,
and
for
to my mom.
sure. Also, like, was listening to a podcast recently that was like, you're actually like conflict in your relationships are how you become stronger. Like, and I thought about that because I was like, yeah, like which friends do or like people do I like have or not have conflict with, and like not that you are should seek that out, but like yeah, I do think that that is important. It's like I feel stronger with people who I've gone through things and like we've worked through it. It really in the moment feels horrible, and I'm like, ugh, I'm that person's wrong, but like then after, I mean,
Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend about this. Like we got into a little disagreement, and like we talked about it 2 weeks later, and she was like, yeah, I feel like this is so nice that like we can go through this and like then we're just stronger for it. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I totally agree. I think we're used to just seeing our friends at their best. You know, you meet them at happy hours, you go to a party, you're dressed in the best way or whatever. You're going to, even if you're going to yoga, like you're just seeing them in this like one dimensional way. And a lot of
perfect.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're really in the trenches and you have a shared goal and you have conflict and you have these things, you can celebrate the wins and then you can work through the hard parts. And it helps you to realize that relationships aren't black and white. If someone does something wrong to you, that doesn't mean that you should cut that person out.
Yeah.
Waiting through and working through that is, yeah, bonding and strengthening.
And I would say like the way you resolve conflict is important. Like I think that's something that I'm grappling with now, and with like I think that's always with family, because we've talked about this. Like me working with family is like very tricky because my family like is there's just been a lot of trauma. And not everyone has resolved that trauma in their life, myself included. So like it can be really emotional. Like it can just be super emotional to work with my family because we all have so much trauma that we have experienced like in our childhood, my parents included, and that like it's yeah, it's really hard. And I have chosen to work with like my sister. I don't think I don't know if I'll work with my dad again. Like it just depends. We're not in like right now, we're not like talking all the time, and you know, there's been some stuff that we both need to work on. But like I have worked with my sister, and you know, me and my sister talked about like potentially bringing in my brother, like when we bought a house in Florida. I think this is like 2 years now, 2 years. And when we were going through it, you know, we wanted to make it really nice. We bought a fixer upper in Florida, and we wanted to renovate it. And like, and there was a decision of like, should we bring my dad in? Should we bring my brother in? And ultimately we decided to talk to my brother about it, just talk to him. And then I think we both were like, okay, why are we making this decision? Like, are we like excited for like the opportunity to work with family? And I think what I figured out is like, we just wanted, like, we thought we needed the money. And I was like, we can't make this decision based on money. Like, I don't want to ruin these relationships. I don't know how all 3 or 4 of us are going to work together on these projects. I know we want to add these like cool features. I know we want to renovate the bottom floor, but like we can't just do it for money. And so we ultimately decided just me and my sister could do it on our own, and it worked out. And so, yeah,
I love that the thought process behind that too. It's like if you're just bringing someone in because of money, not because you're going to be a good fit or it's going to be a good experience, that is dangerous.
And it's really hard because I think, you know, you want to like say, oh, like, I think you always have this image of like, everything's going to be great. Like,
yes,
you think of this like perfect picture family situation, and like, ultimately money makes people weird. Like it does. Like I've seen it, and I was like, no, like I don't care about money, but like money makes people very weird. Yeah. And it's just not worth it sometimes to do that unless I feel like you guys have a really good setup where it's like you all are bringing really good things to the table, like your experience, you're all like knowing how to talk through things. I'm sure you all have experienced your own trauma. I don't know how you guys deal with that, but I'm sure it's emotional as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we try to leave, I mean, it's hard to leave that out, obviously, but everyone has their own things. But I also think when we first started, we all only brought 10K each to this partnership, like ever.
Wow.
And so we built this by, you know, buying something and then fixing it up and using as little money as we could. And like we probably have added a little bit more in the early days, like to the account. But now, since we've built this portfolio and we have a good cash flow every month and it's growing and growing, we have a good nest egg and we have these rules that we don't break. So it's like we have a formula. These are the properties that we're looking for. We have a reserve minimum. We have to keep this much in our account at all times. And it's 50K for reference, because we don't ever want to feel like that stretch, because when money is flowing, and we've experienced this too in our business, when money is flowing, it's like, oh yes, we're good, we're getting, you know. And when it's not, and when it stops, that's when things are like really tense, and every penny counted is like, oh, I don't know. And people, so I agree, people get weird. And so if you manage it right, and really what helped a lot, everybody in our lives, there's 3 partners. Technically it's a 3-way split, but my aunt, my uncle's wife, and then my mom's partner also pretty involved, and they have their roles. And so my aunt is the bookkeeper. Like, she is the dedicated, like, every time we spend anything, we text her, Mary, we spent this at Home Depot. And that has made such a difference in,
so nice.
I know, it's amazing. And that changed us in our business too, like having someone like keeping track of stuff. But I do think that once you really solidify your roles and everybody's doing something to help, it just goes so much smoother. And like you're able to have that money in the bank and then work from a place of like possibility instead of a place of scarcity.
Yeah. And I will say, like, if you are considering working with family or not, and you're maybe you're like listening to all this and you're like, what do I do? Like, if you want to ask us very specific questions, remember, we host a community meetup every single month. Yes. Me and Steph are typically there. If you want to know if one of us is there or not, you can message on Instagram and we'll let you know. And you can ask us more questions on this, because it's hard to know. And ultimately, the best way to know is just to do it. And then obviously if your parents are abusive, or your sister, like, if you've never had a good relationship, you should obviously not work with them. But it can be really rewarding. Like, me and my sister have this beautiful beach house that like we love going to, and like I would say 95% of the time has been wonderful. And it's just like so nice to go there and have friends. And like, we worked together on this project and it worked out really well. And despite like money was tight. So
yeah. I mean, I feel like I talk so much, and it's already, we've been on here for so long, I can't believe it. But there are definitely cons. Like the 5% of the time when it's like, God, you know, this is annoying, or this is taking a longer than we thought, or we're spending more money than we thought. Like that's tough, right? Yeah. So like, there's definitely, it's not all roses for sure.
No, definitely not. And I would say I'm in that 5% right now of like, money is tight. We've spent money in our account. We don't have enough money in our account. I'm nervous because like, we definitely need to set a standard of reserves that we kind of weirdly went through. We don't have like I'm the bookkeeper essentially now. I'm like assigned myself that role because I was like, I just figured money would flow, right? Like it was in a moment. And then, you know, things come up, especially in a house in Florida. Like there's just storms and, you know, things get tattered more. So really, like, I think I thought that we were going to have way more income per year, and it's a little less than I thought, not by that much, but like enough where I'm like, oh, okay, we need to rethink these projects that we were going to start doing. And we kept dishing out money to do projects here and there. So now I'm really looking at our books and like making sure that we have enough money and we're building reserves back up before we do anything else. So,
yeah. That part is hard. It's like, yeah, I do want that to happen. Let's do it. Why not? Let's do it. And then like you realize that you're spending too much and you have to rein it in, and that's a hard conversation. It's like, there are hard parts for sure. We definitely talked about how we were going to talk about pros and cons, and then we kind of, but I do think that there are a lot of pros, and for us, like we just wouldn't have been able to do what we've done without our family.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people listening being like, hell no, like so many people, but
and I agree. I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of a hell no person at this point. It depends. Like in this moment with most of my family, I would say hell no. But I tried it out. I dabbled, and like I would definitely do more projects with my sister. So it's I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. I think maybe another negative of like is like making sure there's very clear communication. For instance, like I was supposed to go to Florida in July for 2 weeks, and I think my sister was going too. And so like there was a miscommunication where now there's like, she invited a lot of friends. So now like there was tension there where I was like, I'm 33. Like I'm not sleeping on, like I want my own room. Like, I have planned this forever. And, we got heated over that. And I like, it really affected me for like 3 days. Like I am still like upset. But I ultimately like look back at even just talking through this, like looking back at all like the positives, we would not have ever been able to buy this together. We wouldn't have all the other memories we've created. It's been so fun. We spend Thanksgivings there. Like it's great. And we'll probably do something again one day.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I do. I mean, just to wrap it up, I am a better person for having partnered with anyone, and specifically family, because family is where that trauma starts. And so if you can tackle the monster, then it helps you in every other area of your life. And so like the fact that I've learned how to draw boundaries with my mom, I mean, that is really challenging, and a lot of people never achieve that. And
it feels bad. It doesn't feel good because we're not used to it. Like it doesn't. Like, I feel bad right now. Like, I feel bad, but you shouldn't. I think boundaries are great, but it just doesn't feel to a lot of us normal or natural. And like, we often hide from conflict because it just sucks. It feels bad. It's good ultimately, but it just feels so gross.
Yes, it does. It feels bad in the moment, but then you really learn to like release things and learn new skills, and then you can use that in your real life. So
and you're more confident in the end. You truly
oh my God. Yeah. I've learned, I mean, when you bring people together, you learn from them. Like I've learned so much about financing. I wouldn't have known any of this stuff without my uncle. Like
it's so
it's
true.
Good. It's interesting. So if you listen to this, I'm curious, honestly, I'm curious to know what people think. So email us or message us on Instagram, because, and especially if you have more questions, because I do feel like there's probably people have tons of thoughts and questions. So I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we got to jump off and do some business coaching.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.